There was a moment in gaming history when entire worlds lived inside a single server. Cities filled with players, guilds organizing massive raids, markets run entirely by the community. Not just games, but persistent digital societies. For millions of players in the early 2000s, logging in didn't just mean playing a match. It meant entering a world. And for a while, massive multiplayer online games weren't just popular, they were the future of gaming. So, what created the golden age of MMOs? And why does the Era still hold such a powerful place in gaming history? Long before massive online worlds became mainstream, developers were already experimenting with persistent digital spaces. The first true massively multiplayer games emerged in the late 1990s. Titles like Ultima Online and EverQuest introduced a radical idea. A world that never reset. Players weren't loading into temporary matches. They were entering a living environment shared with thousands of others. Markets evolved. Guilds formed. Reputations mattered. In many ways, these early MMOs behaved less like traditional games and more like digital ecosystems. But they were also demanding. Slow progression, complex systems, and servers that required monthly subscriptions. It wasn't casual entertainment, it was commitment. Yet, despite the barrier to entry, the idea of persistent online worlds captured something powerful. Because players weren't just playing, they were living inside these worlds. And soon, one game would bring that idea to a global audience. In 2004, the MMO genre experienced its defining moment. The release of World of Warcraft. Blizzard didn't invent the MMO, but they refined it. Simplified interfaces, guided progression, accessible quest design. For the first time, a massive online world became approachable for millions of players. At its peak, World of Warcraft reached over 12 million subscribers. But its influence went far beyond one game. Suddenly, the industry recognized something massive. Persistent online worlds weren't niche experiments. They were a new pillar of gaming. Developers across the industry launched their own worlds. Each of these games approached genre differently. Some emphasized social systems, others focused on exploration. Some prioritized PvP warfare, but they all shared one defining idea: a persistent world shaped by its players. And for nearly a decade, the MMO wasn't just another genre, it was the center of online gaming. What made MMOs special wasn't just their scale, it was their communities. Guilds became social structures. Raid groups required coordination between dozens of players. Markets formed entirely through player interaction. Entire economies developed inside these worlds. EV Online became famous for its player-driven economy. Massive alliances fought wars lasting months. Battles involving thousands of players. Some conflicts even made international headlines. In these moments, MMOs stopped feeling like games. They started feeling like worlds. And for many players, the friendships formed inside these spaces were just as meaningful as those outside them. But maintaining a persistent world at this scale came with a cost, one the industry would eventually struggle to sustain. By the early 2010s, MMOs had reached their creative peak. Budgets increased dramatically. Worlds became larger. Stories became cinematic. But something else was happening. Development costs were rising rapidly. Maintaining servers, delivering constant updates, supporting millions of players simultaneously. Building a successful MMO was no longer just difficult, it was incredibly expensive. And unlike traditional games, an MMO couldn't simply launch and move on. It had to survive, for years, sometimes decades. As expectations grew, the risks grew even faster. And the industry slowly realized something: not every world could survive. While MMOs dominated the 2000s, online gaming itself was evolving. New genres emerged: battle royales, session-based shooters, live service games. These games offered something different: shorter sessions, faster rewards, lower commitment. MMOs, by contrast, still require time. bone leveling journeys, scheduled raids, deep system knowledge. The same complexity that once made them special began to feel overwhelming to newer audiences. And slowly, the center of online gaming shifted, but that doesn't mean the MMO disappeared. Despite a shift in gaming trends, MMOs never truly disappeared. Many of the worlds created during the genre's golden age are still active today. World of Warcraft continues to release expansions. Final Fantasy rebuilt itself into one of the most successful online games in the world. RuneScape still maintains an incredibly dedicated player community, decades after its release. And EV Online remains one of the most complex, player-driven universes ever created. The scale of the genre may have changed. The industry may no longer launch dozens of new MMO worlds each year, but the communities that formed around these games never left. Millions of players still log in, guilds still organize, economies still function, and new players continue to discover these worlds for the first time. In many ways, the MMO era never truly ended, it simply matured. There was a moment when logging into a game meant entering an entire world. A world where thousands of players lived side by side, where guilds built communities, and where digital economies formed from nothing. The golden age of MMOs wasn't just about the games themselves, it was about the feeling of discovering a new world together. And even today, many of these worlds are still alive, still evolving, still filled with players continuing the stories that began decades ago. Because for millions of people, MMOs were never just games, they were places. New case files release every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.